All right, so this is a very interesting one. This is a comic book review. All right, so this is a comic book review. Frank Miller's Give Me Liberty. 4 book series. First one is Homes and Garden. Second one is Travel and Entertainment. Third one is Health and Welfare. And the fourth one is Death and Taxes. Now, you notice this black girl, right? Her name is Martha Washington. Her name is Martha Washington. She's born like in the 1980s. Either 1980s or 1990s. Probably 1980s. And, well, that's not the interesting part. I'm not going to talk too much about the comic book right now. What I'm going to talk about is the journey that I went through with physical media to get this. This was, or kind of feels like a reward for getting off the phone, going out there, watching physical media, going analog, and going back and reverting to how things were in the 1990s. In the 1990s, we actually talked to people. We didn't have phones. We would talk to people, and this is a long story, but hopefully I could say everything that I want to say. I Everything I hate. There's so much stuff that I have to say that it's just too much information. Number one, I want to thank the guy who recommended this book. Heart, I was lost with comic books my entire life. Everything I hated about everything I thought was wrong about comic books. Number one, this is going to be too complicated. Hopefully, I give you bits and pieces and puzzle pieces of everything, and you'll get it. But everything I thought comic books were and I didn't like, Frank Miller knew um, before I was even born. Everything, my entire thought of how crappy and commercial and censored comic books are, and how the art is suppressed, like commercial Captain America, the Avengers, and even Spider-Man, Superman, all those commercial, even Batman, all the commercial names like Marvels and DC that are very clean, even in Disney and everything that is commercial and broad and very popular, everything wrong with that, Frank Miller knew in greater detail and lived it when he was younger. And he went against it. I was so blind. I was so, I was in the bubble of the commercial, bro. Like, with no fault of my own, I was a kid born in the bubble of the commercial and sensory. You think, like, you would think the United States is this land of freedom and this land of expression and this land of you can say whatever you want, but we are a very censored country, very censored, very in a bubble. We're literally like how they describe North Korea. But the people in charge, they're like illusionists. Like they're the grandmaster illusionists. Almost like the Illuminati, right? Like they're the masters of illusion. They're masters at like they feed us everything. The media, they feed us that, oh, you're in the best country, you're happy, you got the best this, you're so free. This is like the freest, like constantly doing that. Well, I started to get on the apps, and I'm starting to realize, hey man, all that censorship that they put in books and in comic books is starting to go into social media, but censorship, not censorship to censor nudity or sex or violence, censorship into um human thought. So yeah, you'll see nudity and all that stuff, but you're going to see the nudity that they want to show you. You're going to get like transgender videos, sexual transgender videos, even though you don't want to see that stuff. There's very controversial things where like I can't even say it, man. But you know what the hell is going on, man. I'm not a left or right. This is not a left or right thing. Um, but Frank Miller, um, he he knew about this long ago, and mostly all his stuff is is um is how you actually want to see the world, how you want to see comic books is without censorship, without without uh without commercials, without there's no commercial in in his books. There's no you buy a Spider-Man comic book, there's gonna be ads. There's no ads in this one. Um, everything he fixes everything, but that's not the main thing I want to do. Is that I went to Frank and Sons, and I was lost on comics. I've been trying to find really good comic books on my own, and that was a biggest mistake. If you want to get into comic books, go to people that actually know about comic books and talk to them with your fucking throat and mouth and lips and vibrations. Talk to them and tell them what you want to hear, what you want to read. And I told this guy that has a comic book shop in, well, actually he helped me out cuz I'm an introvert. I was still trying. He literally pulled me from the fucking ashes, man. He pulled me from the ashes because I was still in that comic book bubble. I mean, commercial bubble where there's you can't escape the commercial comic book bubble because there are tons and tons of comic books that are commercial and you cannot navigate your way out of that. So this comic book man, this guy from a comic book store, small little comic book shop in Frankensons, he freaking ripped me out of there. And you know what? There's a lot of people out there that try to rip you out of the commercial bubble. And I asked him, well, first I was just looking at his stuff and I was just going to, like, I wanted a comic book, but I didn't know what the hell I wanted. And um, I was looking for something and I was like, man, should I get something I should invest in? I wanted like Absolute Batman because I heard that thing was like anti commercial. But it might be commercial, who knows? I haven't read it yet. Um and he's like, "Oh, you're looking for comic books? You could come in." So he pulled, if he wouldn't have said that, I would have kept walking. If he wouldn't have told me, "Oh, come in and check this out," I would have left and that would have been it. I would have never got this. So luckily I had a lot of money in my pocket. I had like $1,000. So I didn't know what the hell to buy. And I was like, you know what? I want a really good story. A really good story from a comic book because every comic book I read, even if it was like the Avengers, JSL, or anything I read, the dialogue was so horrible. It was like, hey, stop there. What do you think you're doing? Don't do that. I got you. Ah. Like the freaking dialogue was horrible. So I wanted a comic book with with a really good story that was phenomenal. And I told him, what comic books do you recommend that's a very good story, like phenomenal and like the best story you can think of. And he pulled out a lot of stacks. He says, "Look, what I do is he had like four comic books pre-made into stories. So like the new Avengers and like Logan and like he had like a lot of sets of stories like already pre-made. So he reads these books and he recommended this one right here. He recommended like probably like 12 series I've never heard of before, and he's like, "Have you heard of Frank Miller?" And I was like, "Yeah, I heard of Frank Miller," but at the time I couldn't remember from where I heard Frank Miller. Frank Miller was the comic book writer for Sin City, and he also wrote The Dark Knight. So Frank Miller's everywhere, and that's um another thing. Frank Miller Rabbit Hole is very good for comic bookers. I think if you're going to hold on to a rope, if you're gonna hold on to a rope of because you don't want to get thrown back into the bubble of censorship and commercial things, hold on to the Frank Miller rope because Frank Miller will friggin' guide you out of the commercial, bro. He is kind of a little commercial, but not too commercial because he has to make money, right? But he is not so commercial. He might be a millionaire, um, but he's like the anti-commercial, anti-politically correct, anti-censorship, anti-cookie cutter, anti-everything. Like you're gonna read some of this stuff and you're maybe you're not gonna like it. Maybe you're gonna get offended, but it's like insulin, bro. It's like the thing you need to go against censorship. And number one, I'm so grateful to that comic book guy for him pulling me. He pulled me out of that bubble of commercial just by saying, "Oh, would you like to look around?" Because you got to understand that people that are into physical media or into movies and stuff like that, they're introverts. They're not gonna be extroverted and say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm looking for this freaking comic book by this guy, or I want a comic book." This. That's an extrovert. Extroverted people do that. Introverted people look around, and if they don't see something they don't like, they fucking walk. You'll never hear from them again. You wouldn't even know that they passed by. That's how quiet they are. I don't know how the hell this guy saw me. I was stealth. I was looking at his stuff, and oh man, thank God he recommended this book, this series, Give Me Liberty, and it is pretty damn good. It is very interesting. The art is amazing. The story is crazy. Lots of action. Lots of actual action, like an action movie, sci-fi action. Uh, it has everything. It has racism. It has sexism. It has violence. It has feminism. It has anti-feminism. It has it has every damn thing. It has racism and it has anti-racism. It has sexism and has anti-sexism. It has violence and it has peace. It has it has every damn thing. Like it has chaos. It has politics. It has politic polit, politic BS and it has anti-politic BS. It has like everything on both sides. It is it's funny, it's got comedy, action, romance. It has every damn thing. And it's by Frank Miller. The main hero is a black woman with a crew cut, kind of looks like a man, but it's a black girl. Her name is Martha Washington, and I don't know why the hell they named her Martha Washington. The main villain is the Surgeon General, who's trying to make everything clean. I don't want to spoil too much about the comic book, but this is not a first print though. I paid $17 for it, and I was like, man, did this guy fucking take me for a ride? I don't give a crap. This was his, I was willing to give him a chance. $17 for this set is pretty damn good. You could probably get this. You will pay more for it online, so it'll be like $7. It was a fair price. You probably will pay like $25 for this if you could get all four of them. He had all four for $17, which is a bargain. They are the 2008 re-release. The comic book came out in, like, I believe 1990. But yeah, Frank Miller and Dave Gibbons. I'm on the Frank Miller rabbit hole. I've yet to go down the Dave Gibbons rabbit hole. I'm still very much enthralled with Frank Miller right now and his mind, and literally what everything I believed was in Frank Miller, and he drew what what I wanted in the future. He literally drew and wrote the things I wanted to see in the future. So hold on to Frank Miller. If you're going to get comic books, go down the Frank Miller rabbit hole. Hold on to that rope. If you like the commercial shit, like Captain America and all that gay stuff, well, like all the cookie cutter comic books and stuff like that, then go ahead and do what you want to do. But Frank Miller is actually giving you raw creativity, raw expression, raw everything, and there's no commercials in here, there's no advertisements. It is done in such a phenomenal way. I can't believe they actually accomplished this. This mini comic book series is actually, like, it kind of seems like a big accomplishment, like a motion picture. Like a motion picture was made in this 4th series, and it's pretty damn good. I could probably read it again, which is something I want to do with my physical media. I want to have physical media that I could reread, rewatch, re-listen to, everything. Because if it's just the one and done, then what's the point of having the damn book? You might as well rent it. Like, you rent it, you watch it once, and then you get rid of it. But this is a story I could read over and over again, because there's just so much detail, and it's all weird. All right, so this little weird thing right here is a human. I think it's Raggedy Ann. I guess the government experimented on these things, whatever, humans, and they strapped them to a bunch of wires to the head. The technology is very crude and weird, and but it's very relatable. It kind of sounds like what's going on right now, but to a very extreme level, more extreme than it is now. So this is like what's going on right now times 1 million. So obviously it's not going to be happening, but it's pretty crazy. There's some insane things that she battles. She is a true superhero. She does not have superpowers. She's an actual human being, but she is a superhero. And I don't know how the hell she became a superhero. She worked for this she had no job or something like that, and she joined this army or some sort of recruit that pays her. It's called PAX. PAX, I don't know if they show it. Oh yeah, they do. She joined some sort of army called PAX, right? See how it says PAX? It's just like a army that gives you money to fight wars because there's so many wars going on, and that's how she learned her military training. But then like her and her colleague, one of them became a traitor, and I don't want to spoil too much about the comic book, but like she fought alongside this army to kill like certain people from I forgot where, but she was in a war, right? And then one of her colleagues becomes a traitor and goes against the entire army, and so they fight it off, and the entire army dies, but those two people survive, and they both become like hero national heroes or something like that because they're the only two that survived. The guy that was a traitor and her, they become sworn enemies for the entire comic book series, and her that guy becomes the main villain and she becomes the main hero, and he starts to gain power in politics, and she's still like a military person fighting the government and fighting these forces that be, and she makes a lot of enemies, and then sometimes she makes allies, so it's very complicated. There's a Native American in there. There's a Native American hero who becomes like a at first it was her enemy and then it becomes her ally, and then the Raggedy Ann, which is like this little thing that was experimented by the government. Um it's a freaking complex story, but it's phenomenal. If you can get these four series, the four books, Frank Miller, David Gibbons, for under $20, I think it's probably worth it. Go to a comic book shop. Try to get to the oldest person you see. Don't go to the young guys. Go to the fucking guy that is like 60, 70 years old, maybe 50, 60, 50, 60, probably 60 plus. 50, 60, 70, or 80 or 90. Tell them, yo, what's a good comic book? What, like, forget Frank Miller. Like, if there's better than Frank Miller, tell them, well, what do you recommend? What do you think is like the greatest comic book you've ever read that you're like, oh man, this is not even a comic book. This is what a comic should be. Um, and talk to them. Talk to people. Talk to actual people. Get off your fucking phone and talk to actual people, man. Um, and interact, and don't be afraid to ask questions and tell them, look, man, what's the best comic book that I can read? And it each book takes like 30, 40 minutes to read. Um, 20 to 30, maybe 30, 40 minutes to read each book, which is not bad. You could read a book a day, and and it's pretty damn interesting, and it's very entertaining, and any time away from your phone is phenomenal. So definitely go out there, go to a comic book shop, go to the small ones, go to like Frank and Sons, or like these comic book events, go to these small guys, look for these old heads and ask questions. You don't necessarily have to make a decision, but tell them, look, man, I'm looking for a really good comic book, and I want to know what I could read. And they'll ask you questions like, what kind of things do you like? What superheroes do you like? And you'll tell them, and they'll probably laugh because they're like, oh, this guy's fucking green. I've been green for my whole life, man. I haven't been paying attention. There's people that pay attention. Pay attention to Frank Miller. Pay attention to him a lot. Pay attention to Robert Rodriguez, who made this, and Quentin Tarantino, and Frank Miller. There's people out there. There's creators. There's people that make movies and books and comic books and music that are anti-censor, anti commercial and stuff like that. And listen to those guys. You're gonna get gold. These comic book dudes, they're holding gold, man. And I'm not mad that these aren't first editions, but you got to understand that maybe they have the first editions for themselves. It's up to me to get the first edition. This is a good enough book to try to get the first edition. You might be able to get it cheap. I would love to get an auto of Frank Miller. If I see him, I'll talk. I would love to get his auto. I don't know if he's still alive. He's super old. Hopefully no one drops the bomb on me and says, oh, he's gone. I don't even want to Google it. But Frank Miller, thank you so much. Frank Miller, thank you. And also comic book seller guy, thank you for your knowledge.